here prior to the initiation of the Israeli state. The church here as a holy place, the place of Saint Symeon's former tomb until the 12th century, being a holy place, maintained a small archimandria. Furthermore, because of the heat in Jerusalem, here across the street in 1890, Patriarch Nicodemus established his summer residence. This was the summer residence of the patriarchs of Jerusalem until essentially 1955. The State of Israel was established, as you know, in 1948. Jerusalem, on the other hand, did not belong to Israel. Jerusalem was on the Jordanian side until the change of the borders in 1967. And in the framework of this, the Greeks, when they wanted to go to celebrations in Jerusalem, they had to, as it were, leave Israel and go across the border into the Jordanian side. And so in the framework of this, the Israelis played a trick on the Greeks in 1955, when virtually the entire Christian population from West Jerusalem went to East Jerusalem, that is to say to the Jordanian side, specifically for the Holy Fire on Pascha of 1955. When they came back to the border, at the border the Israelis informed them that they no longer have right of entry into the state of Israel. And as such, in 1955, the entire Greek colony on the Israeli side of the border simply was confiscated and ever since then ceased to be the property of the Greeks. As far as I am informed in the Patriarchate, to this day the Israelis never restituted the confiscated lands which they stole from the Christians. Furthermore, as I mentioned earlier, the Israelis also confiscated all the lands which were proper to the Monastery of the Holy Cross, and the present Israeli Parliament, the government ministry buildings and so forth, as well as the Israel Museum, were built on the land which was confiscated illegally by the Israelis in 1955. It's open. But yet, Pater is to be occupied by the Israelis. Here on the opposite side, after the 1967 war, the property of the holy place was made available for the Christians. The houses of the Christians were not returned by the Israelis. And also the Monastery of the Holy Cross. The Israelis do not permit the Christians to have these as normal monasteries. Instead, they are required simply to be museums. For this reason, it is the practice of the Patriarchate that if a Jew comes to visit the museum, he has to pay. But if Christians come, they don't pay any money because they come to pray. With ashes, and they chopped Saint Philomenos into pieces. The archimandrite who was taking care of the place, such as, for example, Father Theodoritos here at this church. Закройте тут уже ворота, как будете выходить, то несколько раз откройте и закройте, чтобы не было открыто. Yeah. So, thus, Father did ask to give to each one of you a reproduction of this icon of the new martyr, Saint Philomenos, one of the almost totally contemporary martyrs of the Israelis here in the Holy Land. Oh, good. Everyone received it? 1970s.
79, it says.
79, yes.